Going on, guys? I've been asked quite a few messages or comments lately on talking about fluid maintenance and stuff, and some very specific questions like, why does the transmission temperatures get so hot on my truck, and what's the difference between extended max life technology with Valvoline and the extended performance? How often should you be servicing your transmission? What are the different ways to service your transmission? And also, what are the pros and cons of servicing your transmission? Can bad things happen, or is it just good things? And in this video, we're going to talk about all of that. But we have a sponsor. This is something you're not used to in this channel, but it's something that I felt I could get behind, and it's about security. It's about protecting your information and your data. And once it's out there in public land, like it's happened to me many times, it's really hard to get that information kind of pulled back in. I've had credit cards stolen, identity stolen, all kinds of stuff happen over the years. And there's a company out there that I actually believe in, that I am using myself, and they reached out to me. They like my content, and they said, we'd love to sponsor your channel, and I'd like to share a little bit about them with you. So here it is. This is what I would like to call, in my own words, a security app that I actually trust. And what do they do? Well, they do all kinds of things like identity protection, transaction monitoring, 24/7 based customer support, spam and junk mail removal, antivirus, VPN, and with safe browsing, 3 bureau credit report monitoring, plus credit lock, and scam call protection, plus parental controls. One of the questions that's asked is, if I haven't serviced my transmission at 100,000 miles, should I service my transmission? Well, let's put it like this. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. Ford says that transmission can be maintenance, lifetime maintenance, or Chevy, same thing, which they may say 150,000 miles. They may say lifetime. They may say it never needs to be serviced. But I'm just going to tell you, that is hogwash. As a professional in the industry, I do make a small amount of money servicing people's vehicles and fluids. I make a hell of a lot more money when they break. So this is me trying to look out for you. If I was you and you had a smaller transmission, this goes for power takeoff units as well, 4x4 cases, stuff like that, I would be servicing that transmission about every 30,000 miles. If I had a little bit larger capacity, like a 6R80, a 10R80 or bigger, then I would go as probably as far as about 50,000 miles before servicing it. Now, if you've went 100,000 miles and that transmission's never been serviced, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Now, there's a guy at work with 192,000 miles on his truck, and he's never served the transmission one time. But I've seen people at 100,000 miles have the transmission smoked. I don't know what to tell you. There are people that can get away with it, but the majority of us can't. I service my transmission every 40 to 50,000 miles, and I have a 6R80, which is a higher capacity transmission than some of you smaller jobs. And I like to use Valvoline fluid. Now, if you don't service your transmission and then you go to service it, can you cause damage? Yes, you can. As the frictions inside that transmission wear out and that material ends up coming off of the plate that it's adhered to, it starts leaching out into the oil. And if you flush all that oil out of there, that grit that's in that oil, not only does it clog up passages and stuff inside the valve body and things of this nature, it also has some good, because it's already wore out and it's in the fluid. It actually helps the clutches apply whenever they're supposed to. The frictions make contact like they're supposed to, because it's already wore out. When you flush all that out of there, that material's gone. I did that to a car back when I was younger, early starting in this field. The transmission started to slip a little bit, and I flushed the transmission, made it 10 times worse. So if you get to the point where you're already experiencing failure and slipping and stuff like that, I would be very cautious about servicing it. Now, if everything is running fine and you don't have any issues, I'd at least drop the pan, change the filter, and only replace what came out in the pan. And then slowly over like a 20, 30, 40,000 mile, maybe do a couple quarts at a time, flush it out, flush it out, flush it out. Or just pick an interval at that point. Now that you've got 5 new quarts or 6 new quarts of fluid or something, then move on. But also there's drain and fills. If you got a transmission where the filter is not serviceable and it's in the center of the transmission and it's built into the case, There's nothing you can do about that. All you can do is drain and fill that fluid. So because you know you don't have a serviceable filter, without having a rebuild, I'd be changing that fluid every 30,000 miles. You can't afford to let stuff build up inside there and then all of a sudden block up and you've got delayed shifts, harsh shifts, slipping and stuff going on because you didn't service the transmission enough. I don't know how many people with 6F35s came in the dealership and I would do drain and fills and it'd be like almost black sludge coming out of them because they didn't service them for 60,000 miles, 70,000 miles. And then you'd have to flush the transmission 2 or 3 times just to get the sludgy look out of it so it had some good quality fluid that wasn't being contaminated by stuff that was overheated too much. The number one failure for transmissions is heat. If you can keep the heat down as much as possible, which means keeping the healthiest, safest, cleanest fluid, and a really good transmission cooler. Sometimes you can add external aftermarket transmission coolers if you don't have one. They work wonders. You can keep the heat down and you can keep it serviced. You'll have a transmission that lasts a very long time. Now let's get to the difference between extended protection Valvoline transmission fluid and the MaxLife technology. Extended protection transmission fluid is typically for vehicles that are really healthy. They're newer. They are not something with a lot of not super high miles on it. It's a very good, very robust performing, probably a little bit better fluid film strength than the MaxLife technology. It's $1 more a jug. The MaxLife technology I think was $34.99 and the extended protection was $35.99. The MaxLife technology red jug multi-line vehicle ATF fluid basically is for higher mileage vehicles that need a little bit of extra help. Maybe it's got a little bit more additive pack to it that helps work, helps that transmission stay alive a little longer. I like both formulas. I've run them both in my truck now, and they both work absolutely phenomenal. But again, I service my vehicle every, 40 to 50,000 miles. So there's no shock there. Especially with PTUs and stuff out there that have only a quart of fluid or 3/4 of a quart of fluid in that power transfer unit. Or some of you guys with the rear diffs, that you don't service them and they've got electronic actuators and stuff. It's very important to keep those serviced, especially PTUs and rear diff units, RDUs. If you have them, then I would maybe even 20,000 miles because there's not very much fluid in there and you'll bake those things and you don't even realize it, but the manufacturer won't tell you that. Oh, so what are some myths with transmission fluid? If you dump transmission fluid in your engine 50 miles before you change your oil, it'll flush out your engine. No, it's false. It will not do that. Once sludge and deposits form inside that engine, there's very little that can get out unless you use something like BG EPR that's a very caustic cleaner that will clean that stuff out. But then you got to go back in with a magnesium additive to neutralize the acidity from the EPR. Some other myths are that you can use multi-line vehicle transmission fluid and everything. No, that's not correct at all. 99, maybe 95% of the vehicles out there, the Valvoline will go in. There's 5% that they won't. You got to do the research on that. You got to pick up the phone, call customer care line, hotline, and actually ask them, is this vehicle rated for my transmission as well? That's the best way to do that. So all multi-line vehicle transmission fluid is not compatible with everything. And sometimes will make it shift worse, just depending on the situation. Also, people out there, like, if you've never serviced your transmission in like 75,000 miles plus, then you shouldn't service your transmission because that's a complete myth. It all depends on how the vehicle was driven, how it was beat, what it was used for, towing, construction, whatever, idled all day. That's how you figure out where you're going to go with it. Don't just take somebody's word for it because they think so or they whatever. Anyhow, that's the gist of the transmission fluid and this very specific questions you guys asked about it. I hope that helps you. And if you have any more questions, let me know and maybe we'll make some more videos like this. Remember to check out today's sponsor because not only does it help you, it helps my family as well. And start your 14-day trial. It's going to ask you for some basic information. It's going to ask you to credit card information in case you want to stay with it so they can charge you monthly or yearly or whatever it is. But it's a very good company, and they really stand behind what they say. And I would check them out if I was you. Thanks, guys. Be blessed. Take care. Have a great day.